There are some EastEnders names that never really leave you, are there? You can be years away from watching, pop back in, and suddenly one name hits you straight in the chest. For me, Jamie Mitchell is one of those. Say his name and I'm instantly back in the early 2000s. Christmas lights on the square, Phil being Phil, and that awful sinking feeling that something wasn't right. So when I heard Jamie's name doing the rounds again this week, I won't lie, I paused. Because even after all this time, the idea of Jamie Mitchell being mentioned in Walford still carries weight. And no, before anyone panics or gets too excited, this isn't about rewriting history or pretending the past didn't happen. It's about memory, legacy, and how EastEnders has a habit of letting old ghosts linger, even when they're long gone. Jamie's story ended in a way that felt painfully final. It shaped Phil. It shaped the Mitchells. And honestly, it shaped a whole generation of viewers. So hearing Jack Ryder speak openly about his time on the show and whether there could ever be a place for Jamie again, even in some small, reflective way, feels emotional in itself. Not because fans expect a miracle return, but because it reminds us how deeply those stories still live on. And that's where this week's spoilers get interesting, because while one Mitchell remains firmly in the past, another familiar name is stepping back into the present, and he's bringing trouble with him. Let's talk Jamie first, because this isn't about shock twists or false hope, it's about respect. Jamie Mitchell's death wasn't vague, wasn't off-screen, and wasn't something EastEnders ever tried to undo. And I think most fans agree, that's how it should stay. His story mattered because it ended the way it did. But soaps are funny things, aren't they? They don't always need a full comeback to reopen old wounds. Sometimes it's a memory, a conversation, a name dropped at exactly the wrong moment. Phil Mitchell is not a man who forgets his past easily, no matter how hard he tries. And with the Mitchell family once again under pressure, you can't help but wonder whether Jamie's shadow still looms larger than Phil would ever admit. Would a quiet nod to Jamie's memory work? A moment of reflection? A line that reminds us how far or how little Phil has come? Personally, I think that's where the real power lies, not in undoing history, but in acknowledging it. Now, while we're looking backwards, EastEnders is also pushing something very firmly forward. Mark Fowler Jr. is back in Walford after a long absence, and straight away something feels off. You know that feeling when a character walks back onto the square and you can sense they're not just here for a cuppa and a catch-up? That's Mark Jr. all over. Fans might remember what kind of lad he was before, sharp edges, attitude, trying to live up to a name that carried both pride and pressure. And now, years on, it seems that weight hasn't gone anywhere. If anything, it's heavier. He's older, more guarded, and clearly carrying something he doesn't want out in the open. What really caught my attention is how quickly Phil clocks that something's wrong. Phil doesn't miss much, especially when it comes to young men trying to act tougher than they feel. Mark's behaviour raises red flags almost immediately. The evasiveness, the odd energy, the way he says he's fine while clearly not being fine at all. And then there's Vicky. Mark insisting he's back to support Vicky during Joel's trial sounds noble, but EastEnders rarely lets things be that simple. If he's meant to be a rock, why does he seem like he's barely holding himself together? There's a sense that Mark Jr.'s running from something rather than towards something, and when he finally opens up to Phil, of all people, you know whatever he's hiding isn't small. Phil doesn't get trusted with secrets unless they're serious, dangerous even. This could completely shake up the dynamic between the Fowlers, the Mitchells, and everyone caught in between. And I can't help wondering, is Mark Jr. repeating history? Or is he about to make a choice that changes his path entirely? What I love about these spoilers is how quietly emotional they are. No explosions, no gimmicks, just legacy, memory and consequences. Jamie Mitchell's story reminds us that actions echo for decades in Walford, and Mark Fowler Jr.'s return feels like the next chapter in that same book. Different generation, same pressure cooker. EastEnders is at its best when it trusts the audience to remember, when it lets history breathe instead of shouting about it. And right now, it feels like the show is gently tapping long-time viewers on the shoulder and saying, you remember this, and it still matters. As a fan, I'm cautiously excited. There's potential here for something layered and grounded, the kind of storytelling that sticks with you long after the episode ends. No rewriting the past, just facing it. But what do you think? Should Jamie Mitchell's legacy stay exactly where it is, or would you welcome a quiet nod to his memory? And what on earth do you think Mark Fowler Jr. is hiding? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I genuinely love reading them. And if you enjoyed chatting EastEnders with me today, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and stick around. The kettle's always on and Walford never stays quiet for long.